boisterous crowd, some good music pumping in. We are underway in Kansas City. KC and Houston meeting on this Sunday afternoon, final day before the commencement of the international break here in June. Came back to Oyster, and this will escape out over the touchline. Both these sides are dealing with the early remnants of the international break. For Houston, without Alicia Chapman, Nichelle Prince, Sophie Schmidt. And if you're Kansas City, no Kiki Pickett, Jordan Listro, Desiree Scott. Driven ball clipped away and belongs, at least for the moment, to Kansas City. Vasali here for Houston. And this will get out. You're talking about missing, if you're Kansas City, star number 6 and a bunch of your midfield. And that was a big conversation point for us this week. How do you manage this midfield of Houston if you're Kansas City when you're missing so many key pieces?
Yes, Coach Williams talked about Katie Bowen and her matchup with Christy Mewis and making sure that she plays a big role defensively in trying to neutralize her. But she's been in such great form. She's a player that's hard to neutralize, but that's going to be big for Kansas City. And Gabby Vincent in there as well, making sure she's on the ball.
Saw Vincent in the midst of that a moment ago. Latsko runs this toward the line, and out for a corner for Houston. Christy Mewis will take the corner. Mewis, a couple years in the national team and then shot back to stardom over the past 12 months. No player has seen a more meteoric rise. This will bounce out, struck on the first time by Hansen. Play by Smith, who starts for a second time this season. Mamone goes back. Intercepted here by Seiler. Stabs ahead for Daly. Head on a swivel. Away from Jenkins.
You can just tell Kansas City's trying to get out there, but up top it's been really hard to keep the ball, and Houston Dash is stepping in really well there to take possession.
Groom for Hansen, out of room. Step by Latsko, maintained here by KC. Cross-field room here for Mamone. This is a bit of what we know Kansas City was looking to do on the day.
Hugh Williams talked a lot about that change of point when we spoke with him, getting into those high and wide areas so they can create the 1v1 opportunities that they want to see more often to be more dangerous in the attack. Hugh Williams, former GM of the previous franchise in Kansas City, was announced the head coach back in January. Daly. Came off Edmonds. Stays here for Houston. Forced away by Vincent. And Corsi helps to usher this out. Gabby Vincent on it now. It's really well played by Kansas City to get out of the back. They're getting high pressed, and we're able to keep it up until the midfield area, just committing to that possession style attack.
That's a late whistle, but a whistle nonetheless. Hansen going in on Rodriguez. There are few players in the league who'd be happier striking a ball from this distance than Rachel Corsi.
Yeah, she definitely has the technical ability to create an opportunity here with a good service for Kansas City.
Corsi delivers. That'll miss Edmonds on the run. Ball through for Daly. Kansas City had that under control. Houston unafraid here at the outset to get after it.
They've really started well on the road. It's not always easy to do that, but they've started quick and really trying to play forward and put them on the back foot.
Daly. Bit of technical skill after the bounce back, and this caught by Smith. We talked a lot about communication from the goalkeeper being a positive that Abby Smith brings to the table. May have seen it right there.
It's huge to have that confidence in your keeper that they're going to talk to you as a back line, just to understand that and know that that's behind you, just is something that's really, really nice to have, and to know that they're confident to do that.
27 years old last year, was consistently in the mix alongside Nicole Barnhart in Utah. Push in the back there gives Kansas City a chance to collect across the halfway line for a set piece. Katie Bowen. Knotted away here by Hansen under duress. That'll lead to a corner here for Kansas City.
That's a great defensive effort there. That's a tough ball to the back of the 6-yard box, and just to not only win it, but to direct it out. Obviously doesn't want to give up the corner kick, but to win that is very good defending by her.
Where do your eyes navigate on this corner?
To that back post area. I think they're looking to get it back there. Well, she isn't able to do it there, but that's where it's been most dangerous in most games, and the defenders have a hard time doing that and defending it and getting it out.
Struck down the middle of the field. Roquette accepts a free kick. Good place here for Kansas City to work. This has got to be an interesting conversation.
Definitely want to take advantage of these opportunities. They're getting a lot of set pieces right now, and it's been their best attack so far.
Intriguingly, Vincent Jenkins will run away, and Rodriguez will send that skipping up into the berm. What's impressed you most from Amy Rodriguez to start the season?
She's just so dynamic, and she's someone who has added even more so into her game that ability to play back to goal. Everyone knows she's quick and fast and is such a good finisher, but her ability to link play for Kansas City has been really great from the start of the season.
Williams said going into this year, look, I still think a top 5 striker in the NWSL. At 34, a player who's won most everything there is to win.
She's coupled her athleticism that, you know, everyone knows about, everyone's aware of the pace that she has, but with now even more and more soccer IQ every year, you can see it. And she, with her runs, the way she gets in behind defenders, it's not just based on that athleticism, but timing and movement has been very high level.
All drove forward looking for that back to goal hold up play. Rodriguez couldn't maintain it. Instead, Vasali here for the dash. Flick on by Daly. Mewis speared down, maintained by Seiler, and Mewis gets dropped to ground. Mewis is still down on the ground. It's got to be concerning. Mewis drafted by Vlatko Ananovsky, 3rd overall in 2013 by FC Kansas City. Now on her 6th NWSL team, 4th year in Houston. And striding off the field.
Good run, Hailey.
Naughton. By Corsi.
It's very tough right now for Houston to find space. It's a pretty narrow field, and they're looking to go forward, and you can see the center backs looking to play, but they've gone more direct now to start the game here while they're away at Kansas City.
Just headed backward. Naughton makes that look comfortable in the end. Spoke about how Katie Naughton, she arrived, brings that quality, but also playoff experience, and all that time in Chicago is such a valuable defender. For KC. So sky away from Jenkins. So if you're Houston at this point, you're finding it difficult to find space. What are you doing offensively as you have this ball in the back to try and navigate this better?
Well, there's a few times you can see Rachel Daly popping into midfield for Houston, just trying to create a little bit of interchange. And Coach James Clarkson talked about how he wants to exploit space in behind, but they have to be able to possess in front in order to do that. So just having that interchange is going to be important when Houston's backs are on the ball.
Your wedding knock on Smith. Under pressure, Daly got a piece, and Smith this time convincingly out to midfield. There's not a free blade of grass on this field when Rachel Daly is buzzing.
Absolutely not. She's tenacious, definitely going to press as much as she can. Just as I'm talking about her checking into midfield, she's going up top and pressuring a goalkeeper. It just shows why she's so valuable for Houston Dash.
The Olympics beckon for Rachel Daly. Broke down there from Groom. I think we were really interested to see how Shea Groom would play in this game, because if you listen to Kansas City, they wanted to make her uncomfortable, wanted to make her defend more than attack.
Yes, and Hugh Williams is very familiar with Shea Groom and talked a lot about how great she is going forward. And for her to be defending more means Kansas City has to be doing something right.
Rodriguez, who dropped into midfield. Pressure stifling from Vasali and others. Jenkins, jersey tugged out, and then Jenkins splays to the turf.
There you see Vasconcelos here just battling to get it forward, keeping it alive, and Jenkins getting her foot on the ball, and just a little trip from behind earns the free kick for Kansas City.
From that, Jane Campbell simply grabs and distributes quickly to Hansen. Vasconcelos closing that down.
Jane Campbell playing quickly is something that Houston can take advantage of, because when Kansas City gets back into their defensive shape, it's hard for Houston to penetrate, so that transition might be important as they go through this first half.
This is turned over to Vasconcelos. That is a foul. Latsko trying to avoid any real damage. Would you say we've seen a departure from the norm in the extent to which Kansas City has been able to get into that shape as quickly and as compactly as they have, or more of the same?
Well, I think it's a principle that they've had and they've wanted to continue to employ, but they've done very well so far in these first 17 minutes to get there quickly, early, and stay compact. The size of the field does help, but they are getting behind the ball quicker to make it more, hard for Houston to penetrate. So those center backs are having a hard time finding players.
Header forward by Vincent. Bunch of red shirts around, but Houston able to finagle their way out. Or have they? La Roquette. Get back here to Kansas City, and it's starting to feel like maybe the momentum is shifting a little bit territorially.
Yeah, they definitely had an opportunity there to press a little bit higher. There wasn't clear possession by the Houston Dash, and so using those cues to press high is helping them gain it back higher.
A little extra push there between Prysock, always pretty combative. Jenkins.
Jenkins gets the ball in this wide area. A little creativity there to get by Prysock, and I think she said, no thank you today. You're not getting by. I'd rather give up the set piece here.
Looks like she was asking for a jersey swap.
Exactly.
Prysock goes into the book. Second start of the year for Allie Prysock. First card. So Bowen will put this in play. A lot of time at outside back in previous years.
Pick up Rodriguez.
Prior to the University of North Carolina. Midfielder for New Zealand. Midfielder today. Lobs ahead.
On,
and
Jane,
snagged by Campbell.
It's not a bad area to put that ball in, but just a little bit, too floated, where Jane Campbell's able to come out and grab it. But it's another solid area to find that set piece. I'd just love to see it whipped in there to be a little more dangerous.
Find the space, Galby.
It's a bit more direct. Let's go over Daly. Vasali. Jenkins is there. 20 minutes in here, and it still feels like there's a bit of feeling out going on.
It does. It does. They definitely are trading times to who's in possession, and it's going back a little bit back and forth, and just trying to figure out what's going to work, what's going to penetrate the back line and allow them to get an opportunity.
When you played in WPS, similar number of teams, you see teams so many times, not only over your career, but even in a certain season. This is the third time in about 6 weeks that these sides have met. is there an element of carryover as a player where you go, oh no, I've played against this opponent, individual or collective, and I can come into the game a little more revved as opposed to I haven't seen this team in a year?
There definitely can be, and I think you do start to learn more about the teams just from a collective perspective, but also individually what your matchups will be. But same thing can be said for your opposition. So and sometimes you can be almost blinded to something new they might try to do. So, but most of the time you're becoming more familiar with how they play, what their principles are, and how you can be a little bit more effective. I think rivalries can be built a little bit more as well the more you play, which is always helpful.
Is now a good time to ask your opinion on where you stand in the barbecue derby, or?
Hey, I'm from Texas, so in barbecue, I might have to go with that. But, you know, I do love Kansas City barbecue. I've been there numerous times, and I never turn it down. So is that right down the middle for you?
I think it's perfectly acceptable to say I will accept both.
It is. It is.
And this is a competition I'd happily judge.
I don't know if I've ever turned down barbecue, so.
Next time will be the first. Field of Legends in Kansas City. KC looking for their first victory. And it could be a really important 3 points for either side. It would move them above that 6th place position and into the theoretical playoff field this early stage of the season. Daly has come bursting through with advantage played. Knocks it wide, clipped across short of Groom. Groom will go back and collect, stab over. Latsko rang off of Daly. Daly in tight quarters. Latsko plays to Groom, scorer of exclusively great goals. High arcing ball over the penalty area. That's away by Maimon. And recovered by Mewis, kept by Houston. Much better there. Seiler. Prysock bounces down, Mewis taps this ahead, sliding effort, and rolls to Smith. And Groom waves off Corsi and the referee.
Well, there was a lot of opportunity that came out of this, a lot of balls played in. You see Prysock here just playing it right in behind, looking to get a head on it is Shea Groom, and then a ball in here, and I think well defended. Gets her body in front, and then Abby Smith is there to be able to scoop it up and out of danger for Kansas City.
And that may be the icebreaker in this game.
It was definitely better by Katie Naughton. She started to dribble, penetrate into midfield, and when you do that, you cause Kansas City to have to come out of their shape, and it started that entire sequence of being able to penetrate forward.
Stolen away here, excellent from Vasali, and lifted, dumped over that back line to Daly, who was on the edge, that offside line as well. Pinged off of Rodriguez, who lays this out to Vasconcelos. Now Bowen. More pep in Kansas City's step. Corsi. Play comes back to a Houston foul. Don't really have to do a lot of imagining to figure out what Oyster's thinking at this moment.
Definitely not. By stepping hard there, you know, you do make a forward think about, okay, I'm going to be on your back the entire game. And I mean, there might have been something small there, but if I'm Megan Oyster, I'm a little bit mad about that call as well. But this is another opportunity for Kansas City, and they've gotten a lot of set pieces here in this final third, but haven't quite been able to take advantage of it.
La Roquette has popped back up, the Argentine playmaker. It's one thing to have the whistle go against you, but to have the crowd start chanting, you can't do that. Goodness. Bowen's behind the ball. Kansas City looking for their first really good opportunity toward Campbell. Ball ahead. There it is! La Roquette rises! La Roquette's first for Kansas City. and a critical opening blow in front of their home crowd. And now they're saying it's offside. The entire stadium is still boisterously excited. You saw La Roquette's initial reaction. Maybe La Roquette here. That deflects, chips across. La Roquette went down, play on.
Wow, what an opportunity and a change there. And you see that she almost gets another opportunity right away to put Kansas City up on top.
Well, the referee did have her arm up, but somewhat amazing when the machine gets revved up, the fans are going crazy. This could be quite the turnaround. Daly latching onto the back of her head. Smith going back to have words here with Groom. Yellow card comes out instantly. And it's amazing how fans in Kansas City might feel differently now that Shea Groom is wearing a different team's colors. And Edmonds remains down. So the athletic trainer will check on this. Here's the challenge a moment ago.
You can see Abby Smith coming out for this, and Edmonds just trying to block her and the shove in the back. And, you know, a teammate standing up for another teammate during this, and Shea Groom is not happy about it.
3 years at championships, 17 goals, 8 assists in Kansas City for Shea Groom. And likely a fair number of yellow cards along the way as well.
Yes, and that's the sign of a competitor. You know, she is a professional, and she's in her environment now, and she's doing everything she can to help the Houston Dash and working very hard there up top for them.
Edmonds helped back up, was dealing a little bit of a knock this week, but wasn't truly in doubt coming into the game. Here's a look at the offside. You're looking for 21 in red with that harsh step forward.
And that ball is played in and looks to be, you know, perfectly timed, but that shoulder might have been, I mean, they did hold a high line there, the Houston Dash, but finally that service was driven in there and created a great opportunity for Kansas City.
The Kansas City players just meeting inside the penalty area here and have now dispersed. Abby Smith was shown a yellow as well in that confrontation with Groom.
Angles, Shea! Angles!
Kansas City will clear this out of harm's way for a moment's time. Mewis. Flick straight up. Daly pursues. And this is a more clear offside. Smith.
Haley, be aware, Haley!
Mewis pursuing. Seiler. Move it back to KC. Edmonds. If you're Kansas City, how do you respond here? You think you've got a goal, crowd's going crazy, you're back on level terms, scoreless with the offside flag going up. Offside flag up here again.
You're definitely going to be frustrated. They thought they had a goal. They thought they had the lead at home, but you have to let it go. I mean, you've seen that they have responded. They're still looking to play out of the back and keep their possession-style soccer, but those set pieces have been their best opportunities. So continuing to push forward, draw fouls, and be able to execute is going to be important for them.
And Hugh Williams described it as the chop and change of the lineup, all the injuries that they've had. Now international duty comes into play. Losing 3 players who had a pretty significant role to start the season for today's match. Realistically, you're still trying to figure things out a little bit here. As Rodriguez wanted the return ball, which pings a bit further wide. Jenkins, excellent. Plays this across, slid away from Rodriguez, who was lurking and struck on the first time by Vincent.
Yeah, the consistency piece, really important for all teams. And when you have something like the international breaks and different things that go on, you have to have consistency in principles, because a lot of times your lineup is changing and you're starting 11. So those principles of what your team identity is really important.
And there's no way to really hasten that process, right? It's
right.
natural.
It is, and it takes experience, whether that's training experience, so you understand and can watch the players that are playing week in and week out, but also the experience to get out here and actually do it yourself.
Let's go, pretty good drag, but Edmonds steps in ably. We talked about the idea of Kansas City getting familiarized with Houston. To some extent, they're still getting familiarized with each other.
Exactly. It takes time, and the more and more comfortable you get with your staff and each other, it starts to come together more and more. And Hugh Williams is seeing that, you know, each week he has talked about how he feels like they're getting better and better, especially on that defensive side, and figuring out how to create more opportunities is going to be important for them.
And he was the first one to say, we didn't create enough chances against Orlando. Our passing was more efficient, but not where I wanted it to be. The expectation is there, and they feel like this team has gradually improved, but 4 games in to what's more marathon than sprint even now. Far too early to sound any alarms, especially when one result puts you in the playoff position for the time being. Floats back Prysock. Vasconcelos rode that all the way out. Good work by Vasconcelos. Set up a Kansas City corner. Vasconcelos was excellent from Corsi to streak out in front, but didn't make complete contact.
There's variety in their set pieces, and so for her to make that near post run coming in, it caught him a little bit off guard there for her to have an opportunity.
As a coach, are you a bit of a Mad Hatter with your set piece ideas? This is obviously far different than what we had seen previously.
A bit, yes. I do like that. We like to get creative sometimes. But yeah, I mean, there's ways that you know that you can create very good chances, but sometimes you have to have that variety to throw teams off.
Edmonds. Down to Groom, and Latsko will pull this back. Groom in the pocket, shoved away. Free kick conceded here to Houston.
That was a great step by Rachel Corsi to force Shea Groom backwards and then to give up the foul by Laura Arquette at the end. They had them the direction they were wanting to go. Now you're giving them a free opportunity to go forward. But overall, the way Kansas City is defending, it's still making it very hard to penetrate through the midfield.
A lot of talk about this Houston front three, front four when you consider Mewis so dynamic coming out of midfield. So far, Kansas City has done a good job. Set piece here. That's Smith. Will catch on the fly.
Yeah, Smith made that one look easy coming out and taking that down and not giving them any opportunity.
Struck over the top. Rodriguez was in mind, and that offside flag has had a workout today.
It has, and you can tell that they're looking for that opposite side. Houston Dash's outside backs pinch in super narrow, so something that Kansas City really wants to get is on that opposite side in the wide areas. They can just stay on side. I think that'll be dangerous for them.
So that part of the game plan still very much in play, you would argue?
I do. I would argue that. You can just see how their outside backs really do pinch almost into midfield because they step so much centrally. But having that width for Kansas City is going to be important to be able to find their opposite side winger.
It's that dynamic diagonal the other way. Mewis run a bit too narrow as well. Pretty lively and excitable crowd in Kansas City today. Mewis sneaks that through for Groom. Groom with options. Groom, that deflects. A lot of English on it as it spins right to Smith.
I really like seeing the interchange between Mewis, Groom, and Daly. It's as if, you know, they could play any position in those three, and that's really making it a hard job for Gabby Vincent in there because there's almost 3 versus 1 at times, and it's allowing them to keep possession in that middle third.
Well, Gabby Vincent, to an extent, is a natural player in that role, has been at center back a bit in her career as well, but you're filling in for Desiree Scott, who is as good a holding midfielder as this league can provide. So big shoes to fill, and you've got a team that is so dynamic in their rotation.
It is, and Gabby Vincent's been very good on the ball. I don't think I've seen her lose possession, but that's really a shared responsibility defensively there. She needs help from her center backs and help from the attacking mids to cut off angles, but she's been great on the ball, and I think it's just that space that Houston is starting to make sure and get possession in.
Signed out of a tryout in 2020 in Utah and came over to Kansas City. Started at the University of Louisville. This is good from Groom. Starting to see Groom play a larger role than in the first 35 minutes. And the foul there cedes possession back to the Dash.
And inevitably, as the half goes on, there's some fatigue. There's some times you're out of position where the midfield starts to open up a little bit more. And so Groom's really finding those spaces now for Houston.
Hansen on the trot. Rolled that through, looking for Latsko.
It's such nice play from Kansas City out of the back. That is not easy to build out from where they just won the ball in transition.
And to your point, Vincent was square in the middle of that.
100%.
Yellow card to Seiler. They tried to play advantage. And Vasconcelos does well to force the official to stop play and show the yellow. Third yellow given to a Dash player, Groom and Prysock as well.
number 5.
Vasconcelos does well here just to get her body in front, and really all Gabby Seiler can do is either let her go or have the foul there.
Bree, can you get there? I want to make sure you can get there if it's play.
Driven forward, Latsko. La Roquette did find the back of the net, but deemed offside, and apparently Marangle by a small margin, correctly so. Many tougher places to defend a free kick than from here.
It's a very dangerous opportunity here.
Campbell has to be aware that Rodriguez has scored from this neck of the woods before. Could swing this right inside the near post. Rodriguez. The good news if you're Kansas City, you've had plenty of set pieces to work with in the attacking half. You've grown into this game a little bit more. You've largely stayed compact. There are positives to take here as we close in on halftime.
There are. I mean, they are creating opportunities. They're getting forward. Their possession style is definitely working out of the back to create opportunities. A lot of it's been off set pieces. So if you're them, you're obviously going to want to take more advantage of that if you have that in the second half. But definitely a lot of positives from the way they want to play.
Seiler was shadowed by Jenkins, and now Rodriguez with the pressure. Pretty good restraint, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's easy for this to get out of hand in terms of cards.
Yes, it could be. You can see Houston just trying to draw Kansas City out and end up going for the long service.
That'll deflect out well here. Flag did stay down for Mewis. Mewis tried to crack that through. Something to be said for being willing to accept going for second balls, and
at times you have to. In order to play in front of them, you're going to have to play behind them sometimes. So you want to stretch the field a little bit with that long service. And if they can win second balls, it's going to create opportunities for them when they can't build up through Kansas City.
Vasali comes through that challenge. And a few extra words with the referee here. Last half minute or so before first half stoppage time coming up at the half here on Paramount Plus. We'll rewind through 3 Saturday NWSL matches, plenty of goals, as well as our first half highlights and stats. Two Houston players collide Beginning of 2 minutes of stoppage time. Referee gesturing to her head while calling for the athletic trainer. Seiler on the right. And Naughton grimaces as she gets back to her feet. Take a look back at the collision here.
Just that service. Gabby Seiler going backwards as Katie Naughton's coming through the ball, just both looking to win it there, and just an unfortunate collision between the two of them. They're both up and moving, which is great to see.
And it's obviously a great thing that we've learned so much more about how to adequately protect players or move toward a more adequate concept of concussion substitutes being ushered into the rules by IFAB, and just trying to be more intelligent about how head injuries are spoken about, and more importantly, how athletes come back from head injuries moving forward.
It is. It's just progressed so much, and just putting the athlete at the center of it so they're protected. That's the most important thing, and they definitely have made the right calls to go in that direction to do that to the best of their ability.
This will be a drop here. And given back to Kansas City. We've gone the full 2 minutes of stoppage time. Stoppage time began just as Naughton and Seiler went down. You see Naughton trotting back into the screen. And now Jane Campbell scooped this up. Roll past Edmonds. Corsi.
I love how Corsi not only wins the ball, but she always finds that transition pass to help Kansas City play out. She did it twice in a row there under a lot of pressure.
It's a throw for Kansas City as we slowly work toward halftime. Score update elsewhere. Intriguing match between Washington and Orlando ongoing. Hopefully that was enough time to avoid a spoiler alert. That's scoreless at halftime. Seiler back in. Rings this off Corsi, rolled over the 6-yard box. A throw here with a few more ticks left in the first half, and Houston won't have the opportunity to put this back in play. A little bit.
You know, for Houston Dash to make sure that they're pushing forward is going to be important.
Underway in this second half, Kansas City possesses to begin in red, move right to left. Legends Field in Kansas City. Playing host to this Kansas City side for a fourth time. It's driven down the line. This may stay in for Bowen. It did. Cuts this back. It's a bit behind Amy Rodriguez. Bowen really familiar making those right channel runs from a deeper position. Very much at home getting down the line there. Mewis will claim that. No changes here at halftime among personnel. We'll see just how much the game plan changes once you get to the dressing room. I don't think either side likely went to the locker room horribly disappointed with the first half. Just more tweaks and things to clean up.
I would agree with that. I think it's just a matter of small details, being able to find spaces to exploit in the other team and doing it more consistently.
Served out, and Campbell races out.
Even though Kansas City is really trying to play possession soccer, that long ball service that Jane Campbell had to clear allowed them to get everyone higher up the field. So the possession can be a little bit higher. I just see a turnover there.
Lost by Vincent, and Smith trying to deal with this. It deflects back toward goal and wide. Danger moment. Ball coming together with Smith, and Smith has towed that line a couple times. Latsko is the one charging and pressing.
This long ball in behind, and Smith comes out, and just not a lot of communication here, and then that's a scary moment as it goes right by the near post.
And you would argue that it's one of Abby Smith's more admirable qualities, the confidence in possession and being willing to take some risk that can often unbalance a team. This will roll forward, and Campbell with a heavy touch. La Roquette gave chase. Campbell drives this away.
More often than not, you are so happy that your goalkeeper feels comfortable to come out and be able to play with her feet. And that's going to happen sometimes. Just unfortunately, with another player there, there's a bit of a miscommunication. But her comfortability with her feet is really important for this Kansas City team.
Looked like the hop up there sort of reached all the way up to the thigh. Maybe didn't expect that to.
It did. It took a little bit of a weird bounce there.
Corsi. Driven out by Memon. Vincent. Seiler. Here's Rodriguez. Shouts deemed correct. Edmonds had gotten over the line.
I think the outside backs getting forward for Kansas City could help them get more possession in that middle third. So I like seeing that run forward. And if Memon can do that on the other side, Coach Williams talked about how she's very good getting forward for them in attack. And we just haven't seen a lot of that today from the outside backs.
Edmonds. Rodriguez. Seiler caught a bit of that. Edmonds steps forward. Vincent chopping and getting forward. Part of Kansas City's MO in training this week. Win the ball. They've done that fairly effectively, and be 100% accurate on that first pass. That would change their entire dynamic in how they progress up the field. For the most part, they've done that pretty effectively. Turn back here to Edmonds, who has those good attacking qualities.
This is a better spell by Kansas City, just playing higher up the field. And like you said, keeping the ball in transition is allowing them to stay in their end.
Lost here as Vincent was doubled up, and it allows Houston to race into the final third, and a bit of a miscommunication there between Vasali and Mewis. All trying to handle that, and there's Christy Mewis. Mewis approaches, ball spins out of that challenge. Mewis is going into the book. That's the 4th player for the dash booked.
And Christy Mewis just trying to go forward here, and just a strong touch, and decides to step in for the tackle. And Elizabeth Ball does all she can to avoid that challenge, but on the strong touch, just coming in late and earning the foul there is Elizabeth Ball.
Mentioned earlier, Mewis drafted to Kansas City by the current U.S. national team coach Vlatko Ananovsky. Spent a handful of years in KC, moved on to Seattle, Boston, Washington, Chicago, and now a 4th season in Houston after an ACL injury in 2018. Ultimately, 2020 is when she burst back onto the scene as one of the most effective players in the Challenge Cup. And you'd have to say the expectation for Mewis, who's bagged a bunch of caps over the past 12 months and is headed to national team camp this coming week for games being played in Texas. At the Olympics in Tokyo have become a very realistic expectation.
Now, she's been playing extremely well, and you can just see that the confidence level of, not only at the club level, but at the national team level is just growing and evolving, and she's been so impactful in the last 6 months that she's been in more consistently.
And there's something to be said for how injuries can alter perception. Player who's been around, but I don't think the talent was ever in doubt with Christy Mewis.
Oh, of course
and
not,
now you get
right.
to see that re-emerge here with this healthy run of games and form.
Very rarely as a professional athlete are you at the top all the time and playing at your highest level and fitting, every situation that you're put in, but there's ups and downs, and it just shows the character she has, that she's just a consummate professional and just continues to work and has gotten this opportunity and taken advantage of it.
This played forward, rolling up to Smith, a giant collision. And Daly's checked on Smith.
Just Kansas City trying to play out of the back. That turnover there by Rachel Coursey and Shea Groom. What a great ball in behind there, but fair to both Coursey and Abby Smith. Coursey ran across her path, and Abby was able to come out and be brave and stop that opportunity from Daly.
Well, Houston felt they were at their absolute best last year, counterattacking and in transition. And when Kansas City has opened that door, whether it be Groom or Daly, Mewis, been able to create something here, but they haven't created the really great opportunity at the end.
That's the flip side of that possession up in midfield for Kansas City, is making sure they have the right countermeasures to make sure that those counterattacks don't happen, and if they do, that they're able to be stifled quickly.
And part of that goes back to why Elizabeth Ball is in the lineup to begin with. I mean, the conversation we had is you're talking a player who can be destructive, but also cover that ground when you do give it away.
It does allow them to play that higher line because she has the pace to be able to cover in behind. She's also able to step and win balls in midfield and allow Rachel Coursey to cover in behind her. So it gives them the ability to continue to work on possessing higher up the field and it not costing them in transition.
Able to play in both latitude and longitude. Ball, who last year had a prominent performance in the Challenge Cup, went from more of a squad player into a regular, even at times a starting role for Portland after being a transition to forward to center back at Penn State. It's turned here to the dash, and it's Latsko striding with Vasconcelos in her wake. Ball steps over.
Just that quality in the final third, just lacking there, but a great run by Latsko And that's what we were talking about, is in those wide spaces, having their wingers go more at them and just looking to play that ball in behind that back line will, make it even harder for Kansas City to defend.
Well, for Hansen, do that again. Latsko eventually does step in, fires this across, and a back heel lifted up by Daly and over the crossbar. It's a bit of a half chance, but any half chance for Rachel Daly is better than many players' full chance.
That is very true. You just never know, and a goal scorer like Rachel Daly is opportunistic in those environments, and Latsko a lot more active right now, serving balls into the box, and Daly does all she can to redirect that on frame on a tough ball.
Was there ever a day where you were trying that when you were playing?
Maybe in training.
Okay.
I was more in midfield, so I didn't have that finishing quality like Rachel Daly does, but I love to see my teammates do it.
Smith. Bowen drops that back. Both sides maybe lacking a little bit of depth due to the aforementioned call-ups. So as we inch further into the game, the substitution patterns are going to be a little bit different than we might be familiar with. Vincent playing out from under pressure.
Because of those different sub patterns, it'll be interesting to see, what players the other team's not prepared to see as much, and what kind of dynamic it brings to the 11 that are on the field, and that might open up the game even a little bit more, just with some new personalities out there.
So drive down Edmonds. IDs Hansen. Flicked forward, contact, referee instantly saying there's no penalty there. Amy Rodriguez, flat on her stomach, flew forward out of the challenge.
It's a great change of point there, and then a ball played in, and the reality is that touch was so heavy it was going out of bounds, and so referee, I think, making the right call there. But she's very active in the box, and that was a great opportunity there for Kansas City.
It's with Houston now. Jasmine Spencer coming into the team. Maria Sanchez, I think everyone's excited to potentially see come into the squad here. The midfielder just won the Mexican title at Tigres, in on a short-term loan. The Dash do have a couple of newcomers that could see time on the day. Seiler. Ball stepped out in front of Mewis.
It's a great gap to find by Prysock there.
Mewis, and effectively chipped away from her. Vasconcelos was swarmed by 3 white shirts. Change coming here. And we were wondering when we'd see Maria Sanchez, and we will see her come on now. We'll wear the number 7 for Houston.
Substitution for Houston in the 61st minute.
Vasali coming off.
Number 14, Vasali. Erie and number 7, Maria Sanchez.
And this is a really intriguing addition to the squad. They say they've been tracking Sanchez's progression since college at Santa Clara. Sanchez pressuring him with fresh legs. Ran that all the way to Smith. 15th overall pick in 2019 by the Chicago Red Stars. Did see a bit of time in Chicago, 7 games. Latsko having a whack. Stoppage here is Mewis involved in a bit of a collision there. That's something I'm excited to see as we go through the next month or two. I think there are going to be a handful of additions coming as the season ends overseas. We've seen, well, Reigns certainly add a bunch of players from overseas. North Carolina has done the same. Louisville has added a couple players from Europe. But also, a lot of college players are just finishing out the academic year. If you just got drafted, you may jump in. Even in Maria Sanchez's case, just won a title on Monday and is already coming into a new team.
Right. No, there's a lot of different storylines still coming into the league. As you see, La Roquette here gets out of there, but draws the foul from Hansen and Latsko. Does well to control it here and try to get out of this tight area. But yeah, I think that there's so many different dynamics that can come in and out during a season, all different types of players, and it just continues to expand the profile of the league and just the quality of play here. So it's going to be exciting to see what teams manage that, what teams take advantage of it during certain points of the year.
And it's so important to remember, Angel City's coming too. There's going to be more jobs in this league than ever before. Heavy collision. Somehow kept here by Kansas City. Campbell. Vasconcelos able to sneak this through now, and this is off the post. Campbell came out and closed down Jenkins. And it appears that, again, offside. A little bit of life pouring into this game here. Smith. Daly heads this down, settled. Back out wide, Daly again. Daly cuts that through. And now Edmonds.
All right, press the ball. Press the ball.
Great little ball by Sanchez there. Very deceptive to get Daly an opportunity, but well defended by Kansas City.
This will get over Daly. Run all the way back here. Almost feels like Houston is willing to cede possession in that area and just try and press and win it back higher up.
They're having more opportunities generated when they put the back line of Kansas City under pressure and really win those second balls and are facing forward. So they seem to be going more towards that in this game, especially on this narrow field.
This will get all the way out to the touchline, and Jenkins drives in. Jenkins. Campbell again, offer line closing that down. And a walked out of play. Corner Kansas City.
It's a great ball out, and I love this second touch here to go in behind, right at her, and 1v1 at Haley Hansen. Just a little bit of a strong touch there, but Jane Campbell does well to come down and cut off the angle.
Set pieces were notable in that opening half. 12 Houston fouls. Kansas City thought they had scored on one. The delivery, that'll get away. Edmonds staying on side, Vasconcelos. Throw here as Sanchez couldn't keep that off the line. Last time these teams met, James Clarkson said it felt like a loss walking off the field. Leach, headed goal right at the end of the game. Thought they had gotten it over the finish line to an extent, and clearly they had not. Said they don't want to turn off here, and the later you get, the more you wonder if there's points to be had by the team that can outlast. This will run over the line. Jane Campbell get a goal kick here.
Yeah, both coaches talked about just how they've become a bit stingier defensively, but in a game like this, as it goes towards the end, neither one of these teams are going to want to have one of those mental lapses to allow a late goal. But Kansas City is starting to get 1v1 more in that wide area, like the isolations Coach Hugh Williams spoke about, and that he wants to see Darian Jenkins and Laura Arquette start to go more 1v1 in those wide areas.
Hansen, this will drop down. La Roquette dicing a diagonal flighted ball. Allows Rodriguez to slip that through the legs and out to the touchline. Edmonds couldn't keep it in as Latsko was on the wrong end of some technical skill from Amy Rodriguez.
That movement right there from Christy Mewis completely opened up that space for Sanchez to come inside, and you know she's playing in that left winger position, so that interchange again now with having another player in there, just a different dynamic, could be very good for Houston Dash as they start to penetrate forward more.
You're talking about a player who, again, won a championship in Mexico on Monday, arrived on Wednesday, had the physical, signed for the short-term loan agreement, and practiced twice. And now you're rushing out here and trying to figure out those connections in real time. It's as unpredictable as it might be for Kansas City to defend. I imagine for Houston, it's equally as unpredictable.
It can be. You're absolutely right on that. It's not easy, but it's kind of a sign of things to come as, you know, the next week or two, even though it's a short-term loan, of how they can come together and get to know one another better during this break period.
Another free kick here given to Houston. This one a little bit closer to goal. And what can the Dash orchestrate here?
Ali, come inside.
Mewis lining this through, and Smith gobbles it up. Temperatures pushed into the mid-80s. Anytime you get into June, you start talking about the wet bulb thermometer and what hydration breaks might look like. And
well, there you have it right there. She just went down. Looks like a cramp.
the expectation is there will be a hydration break in the second half. There was not one in the first. That's Prysock who's being stretched out. He was in a really competitive battle for playing time at right back last year with Aaron Simon, who has since gone to Louisville, reuniting with Christy Holly. Coach Simon at the Artist, formerly known as Sky Blue. And Prysock jumps back up here. And it looks like Prysock might be done. this may take us right into the hydration break. Maybe a couple minutes ahead of schedule. Yes, then we'll go to the hydration break now. The temperature up in the mid-80s. Hydration necessary in part because the humidity is up in the mid to upper 60% as well. So it's scoreless here in Kansas City, one of two games ongoing in the NWSL. KC and Houston both fighting for position in the top 6 going into the international break. Here's the update. Mountie Field in the District of Columbia. Kelly O'Hara winding this across. Hatch, her 3rd of the year.
I mean, what a dangerous ball, but the bravery from Ashley Hatch to get in there, get in front of Ashlyn Harris. That is a textbook run from her and a great header off O'Hara's ball.
What a great 4 minutes it was for the Spirit. Orlando responds. You don't take us off the top of the table. Korniak, what a finish.
I love how Korniak gets his ball head down straight at the defender and finishes that low to the far post.
So that's in the 75th minute now, level 1 goal apiece. And while we'd like you to stick with us, that's going on Paramount Plus as well. Try and describe these moments. You're talking about teams. It's a lot of games when you think about the Challenge Cup. You come into this portion of the season, you're starting to see those 3-game weeks arrive. You've got players away on international duty for both these sides, 3 key players. So there's a little bit of inconsistency in your lineup, but also you're starting to get into that grind of the summer, and then it's about 85 degrees, and it's sunny, and it's humid, and it can weigh on you a little bit, and I think we've seen a bit of tired leg at time.
There are definitely other opponents other than who you're playing against, and weather can be one of them, and so taking advantage of that opportunity is huge. And you can also see when they come over to the side, some of the assistant coaches giving a little bit of feedback, a little extra time to coach as well, and just taking advantage of that moment. Some players need that. Some players need just the time to kind of chill out and relax and get ready to go back in the game. But you can definitely take advantage of those opportunities as a staff as well.
Well, multiple changes came at the hydration break. You saw Spencer there a moment ago has come on for Houston. And Laura Kett will come out. And this is going to be Jessica Silva coming on, the Portuguese national teamer with a decade of international experience. The last 2 years at Lyon in France, brutal injury kept her out for a while, has only played 18 competitive minutes. And then, of course, the pandemic stopping soccer and the world in its tracks. So Silva was wondering when the right time might be to try and play in the United States, and the answer is now. And Gamera Stevens will come on as well, replace Shea Groom. So we've got a bunch of debuts now.
Oh, it's great. Jessica Silva is a player that Hugh Williams talks about just really being the type of 1v1 creative player that he really values in those wide spaces and can bring just a different dynamic to the attack. So it's great to see her out here on the field.
Spencer helped to bring that down. There's plenty of attacking pop that just came off the bench, and one wonders if the next 15 minutes might light up a little bit with that in mind. Fields came on for Prysock as well, so a bunch of changes at the hydration break to try and alter the direction here a little bit.
In the next 5 minutes or so will be interesting to see how everyone settles in with that many changes, just to see who can impact, what changes have the most impact, and how each side deals with that.
Gamera Stevens out of Washington State led that side to an Elite Eight, part of that fantastic group. How about Seiler getting ahead? All ball. Vasconcelos splays out. Good recovery by Silva. Silva charges upfield. Rolled wide. And slid out, corner. You can sense this Kansas City crowd is just waiting to explode here. Service driven. And away. Bouncing ball back into the penalty area. This will escape over the end line. Another corner.
And more set pieces for Kansas City, but they're creating them more from their attack rather than drawing fouls. And you can see that they're really trying to keep Houston in their defensive third, and they get another opportunity here.
Corner punched away by Campbell, leaned over the top and shoved that out from the 6-yard box. Launched ahead, maintained here, Bowen. Bowen with time and space, leads that through, chip back, Corsi, that deflects. There is no handball. It bounced up awkwardly on Naughton and came back to ground. KC really extended upfield. Houston tries to respond. Ahead here to Spencer. Brought that down effectively. Spencer rolls. Mewis leading down the left-hand side. This will deflect, and Maimon watches this flutter over the line.
I mean, this is incredibly clever from Katie Bowen here. Looks like she's going to serve it. Same thing from Amy Rodriguez. And then gets this strike, and ooh, it looks to hit that back of her hand, but the referee doesn't call that. But what a great opportunity there for Kansas City. Very clever in that final third.
Well, looked fairly clear. Naughton available and scores! A near handball on one end and Naughton on the other scores to give Houston the lead.
And that's how quickly it changes. Opportunity on the other end. Great service here by Mewis, just in a dangerous area, and Katie Naughton just able to get to that, and just a textbook header straight into the ground. Makes it so hard for the goalkeeper, and she's not able to react, but what a great finish.
One goal in Chicago in all those years. Gets a goal here for Houston and makes it a very difficult road uphill for Kansas City. They have already stolen points this year late in the game against the Dash, and the Dash will try and avoid a similar feat now.
There hasn't been a lack of chances for Kansas City, so they've got to be encouraged by that piece, but they have to keep going, and obviously with limited time, they may have to look to start playing forward a little quicker like they have been in the last few minutes.
Houston goal scored by number 25.
Well, as far as momentum shifting, that was a pretty wild minute, to say the least.
The game's just starting to very much open up in the last 10 minutes, and players playing a little more direct. Great turn there in midfield by Gamera Stevens. But they're winning those second balls, and that's where a lot of the opportunities are coming from on both sides.
This will roll all the way back by Edmonds. Fans, visit NWSLshop.com to find your club's latest gear. Support your favorite NWSL club with the latest kits, tees, hats, novelties, and more.
Outside midfield with the second one. Right centre backs, get it organised.
the goal seems to have buoyed Houston a little bit.
There's definitely a bit of a momentum shift. They have some adrenaline going here and pushing forward. I'd like to see Kansas City commit a little bit more numbers forward as they try to generate more up top.
You can step, Christy.
Bouncing ahead to Rodriguez, and Campbell ranges to her right. Daly knocked from behind by Silva.
Just go. When she has it, get on her.
Silva, we were told, in training, counts the number of nutmegs over the course of the time on the field. Just super creative, intelligent, technical.
Look at Maria. Oh. Chris.
Vasconcelos driven to ground.
Come on, back in.
Well, if you're Kansas City, what are you changing at this point now that you are down a goal and you stare down the barrel of about 7.5 minutes plus stoppage remaining?
Yeah, I think there's two things. You can play a little bit more direct, and also I'd love to see Vasconcelos get a little higher up the field. She's coming back and doing a lot of work, but they don't really need that at this point. She's very creative. I'd love to see her higher up.
Maddie Nolf waiting to come on. Edmonds going to take a seat. Vasconcelos will come off as well. Allie Hess has come on as well, who's a volunteer assistant coach at UMKC. One of the finalists for the 32-player preseason roster for KC. Getting a chance to play here in the latter minutes with Kansas City chasing a goal.
Step to the ball.
Hess collides through. Rolled forward for Mewis.
Nice bag. KD.
Plays an early ball, caught by Smith.
Yes. Gotta get there, Heidi.
And they have shifted into more of a three-back Kansas City, bringing Maimone to the left side and Elizabeth Ball out on the right, and push more numbers forward. So they are trying to push forward a little bit more with bringing Nolf in and Hess and more numbers up the field.
And worth noting, by the way, as Vasconcelos came off, put in a shift.
She did a lot of work. I mean, she's playing in that 10 role, but she came back, did a lot defensively to win the ball and keep possession in transition for Kansas City.
All the while, this is maintained by Gamera Stevens. And the cross through, Daly the target, Spencer pursuing, brought down by Maimone. Seiler kept it. Kansas City just trying to get a grip on the ball. Spencer races through, drives the cross. Sanchez, caught by Smith.
Houston's done really well in these last few minutes, not only to press and make it hard to play out of the back, but they've kept the ball in transition and created opportunities. So it's making it hard for Kansas City to get up the field and create opportunities for themselves.
Why? Because she's going to do that. That's why.
Hess. Rodriguez, thought she had sniffed that out. Vincent drives forward. Silva crashes down. Spencer. Game's become a bit helter-skelter, and the whistle cedes possession to Houston. Go back for a moment. Allie Hess was signed as a national team replacement player with all the Canadian players that are away. And I love the quote that UMKC put out in the press release that she was advancing among the tryout players for Kansas City. I fell in love with soccer in Kansas City, so it's almost as if things have come full circle to represent a pro team in my hometown. Like, the idea of Hess playing in this game is absolutely fantastic.
It is, and those opportunities being created is so important.
Hess is the one running down the middle. This struck, excellent save. Campbell rose up and fires this into the stands.
And that's that change of point ball to Darian Jenkins that Hugh Williams is talking about, that gets that isolation on the far side, and that ball played over the top. Just a great touch here to get into the 18-yard box, and great save by Jane Campbell.
Headed away, but recovered here. Shot ripped and away. Nolf pushing forward. Important moment for Maimone. Keep that alive. Crowd starting to cheer. Hess rose up near it and skims away.
Great service there by Katie Bowen into the back post, and Hess just rises above, almost gets to it, and she had Rachel Corsi behind her, but great opportunity here, just can't quite redirect that on frame.
There might still be something in this game for Kansas City. 1.5 minutes in stoppage time to go. There was a hydration break in this half, so there could be a fair amount of stoppage time ahead. This will bounce toward Hess. Hess recovers in her debut. Oyster clips this away.
This quick throw in behind, and Hess just does a great job here to make it uncomfortable for Oyster as she defends and earns the corner kick for Kansas City. She's done so well since she's come on here.
Corner, Kansas City. Ball. Lofts, header, bounces in on one hop to Campbell. Corsi came across the face of goal. And if you're Houston, I'm sure the thought is crossing your mind that you allowed Kansas City to take 2 points off you earlier by failing to see a game out.
It's going to be important. They did a great job right after the goal initially to not allow many opportunities, but now there's just a barrage of chances coming from Kansas City as they push forward, and since those substitutions were made.
Nolf wants this play. There it is. Nolf crossing, and Campbell snares that. 3 additional minutes here. Houston could grab a huge 3 road points here. They could quickly be on a winning streak. And on 7 points would be in a much rosier position heading into the international break. Spencer, the insurance goal won't come there. Houston has spoken about how difficult this Kansas City side is to beat. Kansas City had a goal wiped away offside in the first half. What appeared could have been a handball went without a whistle, and on the other end, Katie Naughton scores for Houston less than a minute later. The 79th minute goal by Naughton right now is the difference maker. Halfway through stoppage. This is beyond Silva.
Maymone's looking to get forward a little bit more into the attack, and good idea, but just the timing obviously not right with that run, and a lot of pace on that ball and behind.
Less than 2 weeks ago, that match went down the final seconds. Houston won back in the Challenge Cup 3-1. Mewis bagging a pair of goals then. "40 seconds and time passing through the hourglass faster than Kansas City would hope. They've won the ball here, but it's only momentary.
Really good work by Daly there. She worked back not only to get the tackle in, but then to knock it off their player. It just counts down more time to help them secure the 3 points.
Last chance saloon now for Kansas City. Hess couldn't get a touch. Referee puts an end to this one.